The Chilling Confession. Genre, psychological thriller horror. Setting, an isolated, dilapidated cabin deep within a dense forest, surrounded by the eerie stillness of a winter night. Moonlight filters through the bare branches, casting long, sinister shadows. Alicia Thornton sat in the creaking cabin, the icy fingers of winter clawing at the windows. The room was dimly lit, its walls adorned with peeling wallpaper that whispered secrets of bygone years. She could feel the weight of her past pressing on her chest like a tombstone. The fire's feeble flames danced in the hearth, casting elongated, flickering shadows that seemed to taunt her. It was here, in this desolate place, that Alicia awaited her reckoning. She knew that Detective Mark Turner and Dr. Emily Shaw were on their way, determined to extract a confession for the series of unsolved crimes that had terrorized their town. As Alicia sat in the silence, her mind spiraled back in time to the beginning of her descent into madness. She remembered the first victim, the nightmarish visions that haunted her, and the dreadful compulsion that drove her to commit unspeakable acts of violence. The cabin's walls seemed to close in around her, suffocating her with the weight of her own guilt. She could hear the distant cries of owls, their mournful hoots echoing through the forest like a haunting refrain. Detective Turner's car rumbled along the winding, snow-covered path that led to the cabin. His gaze was fixed on the road ahead, but his mind churned with anticipation. He was about to face the woman at the center of the town's darkest mysteries. A woman whose very presence seemed to emanate an aura of malevolence. Beside him, Dr. Emily Shaw leafed through Alicia's file, her brow furrowed in concentration. She was a seasoned forensic psychologist, but even she felt a chill crawl down her spine at the prospect of encountering Alicia Thornton. The locals say this place is cursed, Detective Turner remarked, breaking the uneasy silence that had settled in the car. Doctor. Shaw glanced up from the file, her eyes meeting his. Cursed or not, there's something deeply unsettling about this case. The cabin loomed ahead, a spectral figure in the moonlit night. It seemed to beckon them closer, its dark secrets concealed within its decaying walls. As Detective Turner and Dr. Shaw entered the cabin, they were met with a suffocating atmosphere of dread. Alicia sat in a weathered armchair, her eyes fixed on the flickering fire. Her gaze was vacant, as though she were lost in the recesses of her own mind. Detective Turner cleared his throat, breaking the oppressive silence. Alicia Thornton, he began, his voice steady. We're here to hear your confession. Alicia slowly turned her gaze towards them, her eyes hollow and devoid of emotion. She knew that this was the moment of reckoning, the culmination of a descent into madness that had claimed her soul. Doctor. Shaw took a seat across from Alicia, her gaze intent and probing. Alicia, I need you to tell me everything. Help me understand what led you to this point. As Alicia began to speak, her words carried the weight of a tortured soul. She recounted the horrors that had plagued her, the visions that danced at the edge of her consciousness, and the insidious compulsion that had driven her to commit acts beyond human comprehension. The night deepened, and the cabin seemed to close in around them. Shadows moved with a sinister purpose, and the air grew colder, carrying with it the foreboding presence of something unseen. As Alicia's confession continued, the line between truth and delusion blurred. Dr. Shaw watched intently, her professional facade tested by the chilling narrative unfolding before her. Detective Turner, too, felt a shiver crawl down his spine as he listened to Alicia's harrowing account. The fire's embers crackled and popped, casting dancing shadows on the cabin's walls. Outside, the wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the distant wails of a world steeped in darkness. In a climactic moment, Alicia's confession took an unexpected turn. Her voice trembled, her eyes wide with terror. as she spoke of an entity, a malevolent force that had taken root within her soul. She described its insidious whispers, its suffocating presence, and its relentless demand for blood. Detective Turner exchanged a wary glance with Dr. Shaw. They were faced with a choice: dismiss Alicia's words as the delusions of a fractured mind, or confront the horrifying possibility that the darkness they sought to uncover was more pervasive and malevolent than they could have ever imagined. As the night wore on, the cabin became a crucible of fear and despair. Alicia's confession, once a chilling narrative, now revealed a truth more horrifying than they could have fathomed. In the cold light of dawn, as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the cabin's cracked windows, Detective Turner and Dr. Shaw left the isolated place, forever marked by the chilling confession they had heard. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as though awaiting judgment. The truth behind Alicia Thornton's descent into madness remained shrouded in mystery, leaving them to grapple with the realization that the darkness they sought to uncover may be more pervasive and malevolent than they could have ever imagined. And as they drove away, leaving the cabin and its haunting secrets behind, each one more chilling than the last,